I mean, I hang my hat on the run game, so I mean, hopefully there's no issue there, and there's no excuses to like. That's like something obviously we're not going to go for this year. Let's just get your job done.
Detroit, we need to talk about a training camp interview that quietly said a whole lot more than it seemed on the surface. Jack Campbell, the heartbeat of this Lions defense, sat down with reporters in Allen Park, and what came out his mouth was equal parts honest, funny, and genuinely revealing about where this team stands heading into the 2026 season. We're talking about his complicated feelings on facing Jahmyr Gibbs again, his surprisingly detailed scouting report on a rookie defensive tackle nobody's talking about enough, and his real, unfiltered thoughts on sharing a linebacker room with a former All-Pro. This is Detroit Scope, the channel built for Lions fans who want the full story, not just the highlight reel. We are grinding toward 1,000 subscribers right now, and we cannot get there without you. So if this is your first time here, smash that subscribe button, and if you're already part of the pride, you know exactly what to do. Let's get into it. Let's start with the moment that kicked the whole interview off, because it's a perfect little window into the personality of this Lions locker room. A reporter mentioned to Campbell that it was nice to finally get Jahmyr Gibbs back out on the practice field, even in a limited capacity. And Campbell's response was priceless. Is it nice? He wasn't so sure. His actual reaction, in his own words, was something closer to dread. The moment he saw Gibbs back out there running around, his first thought was, gosh, now I've got to go one-on-one against him in routes again. It's a small joke, but it says everything about just how dangerous Jahmyr Gibbs is to cover, even in a padless, low-stakes training camp setting. This is a guy so explosive that his own teammates are groaning at the thought of lining up across from him in practice. But Campbell quickly pivoted from a joke to something a lot more heartfelt. He made it clear that having Gibbs back out there, even for a handful of reps, matters deeply to this team, and not just because of what he brings on the field. Campbell talked about coming into the league with Gibbs, both of them part of that same rookie class trying to find their footing in Detroit together, and about how Gibbs has been nothing but good to him and his family the entire time he's been with the organization. He didn't just call him a great player. He called him a fantastic human being. And for context, Lions fans know exactly why this stretch of camp mattered so much. Gibbs spent a portion of this offseason locked in a tense contract standoff, holding in as he pushed to reset the running back market. That situation resolved with a massive extension that made him the highest paid running back in NFL history. And getting him back out on the field, even easing in gradually, was a genuinely big deal for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. Campbell's blend of humor and sincerity here, half complaining about having to cover him, half gushing about what kind of teammate he is, captures exactly why Gibbs is so beloved inside that building. From there, the conversation shifted to something a little heavier for Campbell personally, his own workload. A reporter pointed out that Campbell played all of 8 snaps on defense last season, a shockingly low number for a player of his caliber, and asked what it actually takes to get back to a full workload, and whether he expects to play significantly more this year. Campbell's answer was pure competitor energy. He basically shrugged off the low number and doubled down on his mentality heading into this season. Give me everything. He said, I don't care. That's what I'm here for. He talked about wanting to load himself back up to get his body conditioned to handle real football again after a season disrupted by injury. And he didn't stop at defensive snaps either. Campbell made a point of bringing up special teams, saying he's more than willing to keep grinding out kickoff coverage reps even after a long series on defense. His exact mentality, in his words, is that there are no excuses. It doesn't matter if you just sprinted down the field on a tackle attempt and you're gassed. You still have to lock in for the next series. As many reps as he can get, against 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, he genuinely doesn't care who's lined up across from him. He just wants his body moving and his conditioning building. That's the mindset of a guy who knows exactly how quickly a career-altering injury can strip away playing time, and who is determined not to let that happen twice. Campbell described gill-howard as a guy who can do things at the 3 technique position that a lot of other players simply cannot do. High praise from a linebacker who watches interior defensive line play up close every single day. Campbell even compared his skill set to Mekhi Wingo, another undersized but explosive interior defender on this roster, saying he sees a similar kind of feel in how gill-howard operates. That comparison matters because it suggests Detroit may have found a legitimate developmental gem in the 6th round. A player who reshaped his entire body this offseason, shedding real body fat to become more explosive off the snap. Campbell's message was simple and encouraging. Gill-howard has already done a good job, and now it's just about staying consistent and continuing to build on it. That naturally led into a bigger picture question about scheme. because the Lions ran more base defense, meaning 3 linebackers on the field at once, than any other team in the NFL last season. With the front office bringing in more pass-rushing interior linemen and shifting personnel this offseason, reporters want to know how the dynamic changes if Detroit moves into significantly more nickel packages this year. Campbell's answer was measured but revealing. He said it ultimately comes down to competition and that they'll see how it plays out, but he made an important point about the direction of the entire league right now. More and more teams are getting into heavier personnel groupings like 2 backs on the field at once, and you simply cannot play a 5 defensive back nickel package against those looks. Campbell explained that with a 2-back personnel package on the field, defenses can much more easily manipulate run fits and get clean angles on ball carriers, which is exactly why the Lions have built such a deep, physical linebacker room in the first place. When asked how much his own individual responsibility changes if he ends up playing more snaps in nickel personnel, Campbell's answer was almost dismissive in the best way. It really doesn't change much for him at all. He explained that on a lot of Detroit's defensive calls, the nickel defensive back and the 3rd linebacker spot are functionally interchangeable, the same responsibilities just executed by a different body type. In a nickel look, the coaching staff simply swaps in a lighter, faster player instead of a bigger, more physical one. And Campbell pointed out the obvious trade-off that comes with that decision. If you bring a nickel defensive back onto the field instead of a linebacker, offenses are going to take that as an invitation to run the football right at you. And then came the moment that really ties this whole interview together. Campbell's impressions of new linebacker Devin White. His answer was full of genuine respect. He called White great, a true veteran who has been in the league twice as long as Campbell himself, and said it's been genuinely valuable just being able to talk football with him. Campbell specifically praised the way White sees the game, noting that he's played at an elite level for a long stretch of his career, and that simply watching how he processes plays and getting aligned with his football IQ has been a real asset. Campbell didn't hold back on how quickly White has picked up Detroit's system either, calling it a fantastic job of learning the scheme in a short amount of time. For a defense that lost some experience this offseason and welcomed a rookie-heavy new wave of talent, having a former All-Pro like White slide in and immediately elevate the room's football intelligence is exactly the kind of veteran presence Detroit's coaching staff hoped for when they signed him. Finally, Campbell was asked about leadership across the entire defense, specifically whether he's seen other players stepping up and taking ownership of their units the way he has of his own. His response read almost like a locker room shout-out reel. He named Aiden Hutchinson and Alan McNeil as the unquestioned standard-bearers up front, guys who simply know what they have to be for this team every single day. In the secondary, he singled out DJ Reed, Kirby Joseph, referred to affectionately as Rock, veteran Avonte Maddox, and Chuck Clark as players who have all done a fantastic job setting the tone. And in his own linebacker room, he gave specific praise to Derek Barnes for the way he's carried himself. Campbell was quick to acknowledge he was probably leaving names out, joking that he always hates naming people because he inevitably forgets someone. But his closing thought was the most important part. He believes his defense has done a good job building that culture of ownership so far, but there's still more work to be done before the games actually start to count. So here's where this all lands for Lions fans heading into the rest of camp. This interview gave us a rare, honest window into how this defense actually thinks about itself. Jack Campbell is fully healthy, fully motivated, and clearly hungry to make up for a season that was cut short by injury, and he is not interested in taking a single rep off, no matter how tired he is or who's lined up across from him. Jahmyr Gibbs being back out at practice, even in a limited role, is a genuine sign of stability for this offense after a tense contract standoff. Skylar Gill-Howard might be one of the more under-the-radar developmental stories of this entire training camp, a 6th-round pick who's already earning real praise from his own teammates. And Devin White's addition looks less like a low-value flyer by the day and more like exactly the kind of savvy, experienced presence this linebacker room needed. Put it all together, and you get a defense that sounds like it knows exactly who it needs to be heading into the 2026 season, even if there's still work left to finish the job. That's everything from this one, Detroit. If you enjoyed hearing Jack Campbell's honest take on all of this, drop a comment below and let us know what stood out to you most. Was it his reaction to facing Gibbs again, his praise for Gill-Howard, or his respect for Devin White? And while you're down there, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Detroit Scope so you never miss a single update from this Lions training camp. We are working hard to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you can help us get there. We'll see you in the next one.